Hey, this is the C&D channel. I'm Chris. This is Dave, and we are going to be doing our MMA Q&A today. Okay, I got some shout-outs. I just want to say that doing the C&D channel is really fun. MMA for you is great. I think we're building kind of like a community in here. Shout-outs go out to Pharrell Man 456. You're awesome. Girdle Reef, Fried Never Die. Pain God 333. Always nice talking to you. Enter the Arena US, MMA Mischief, Nebar Buffet, Rick 1982, The Holy Fucking Bible, even though I shouldn't say that because I am a devout Christian, Mad Hatter Channel, and Ponevids. You got any shout-outs here?
Hello John 99.
You got it, man. Okay, so Boss Rutan sent us this question. I don't think it was the real Boss Rutan, but how do you see the upcoming Nick Diaz versus GSP bout?
So how, Chris?
Okay, I kind of think it's going to be all GSP, to be perfectly honest. I think his wrestling's going to dominate this fight. The stand-up, I mean, Nick Diaz isn't a defensive dynamo by any stretch of the imagination. He throws high volume with low defense. I don't think GSP is going to stand for too long with him. Take him down, ground and pound, rinse and repeat. That's really how I see the fight. Honestly, I think GSP is going to have to worry when he takes down Diaz. Watch out for scramble. Diaz won't attack from the bottom. He'll punch. He'll try and scramble, even try and submit. But so I think GSP is always going to have to work in this fight. But for the most part, I think that it really is going to be all GSP.
So is this too easy for GSP, or is this gonna be an easy fight for him, or he's still gonna work for it?
He's gonna work for it a little more. I don't think he'll obliterate him like he obliterated like John Fitch. I can, just because of how much Diaz works, I can see GSP having to work a lot. He'll get the takedown, but to keep Diaz down will be a lot harder than his other opponents. The stand-up, you always got to worry about Diaz because he's so. I mean, Paul Daly couldn't finish him on the stand-up. So I see this fight definitely going more grappling oriented.
Is any other candidate you would like to see with the GSP better than Nick Diaz?
In welterweight. No, I mean, there's up-and-comers right now. There's like Jake Ellenberger, Rory McDonald in the future could do something. Mike Pierce, Johnny Hendrick, Brian Foster, John Hathaway, Tyron Woodley and Strikeforce, but no one right away. Like in the future, yes, Brenneman's another guy, Rick Story, but as of right now, none of them really interest me.
So after this fight, who going to fight GSP?
Right now the front runner is Carlos Condit. Looks like a front runner, especially if he beats BJ Penn. And our Jake Ellenberger versus Jake Shields. Ellenberger possibly if he beats Shields. And there's always that super fight between Anderson Silva and GSP.
Wonderful.
Yep. Cool.
Alright, let's go next question. Let's talk about women's division. What are the benefits of having a women's division in the UFC?
You'll definitely reach a different audience. That's pretty much one of the major things. I think there's a lot of obstacles. I mean, do you think that like there's kind of a cultural thing against seeing two women fighting each other?
Oh, I don't think anything wrong with that. It's actually pretty hard, You can your fan want to watch it, I want to watch women fight.
I think there's definitely a novelty to it. That's for sure. It's very interesting to see women fighting. Some of them are very attractive. Misha Tate just fought Marlos Kunin, and it was. Eye candy when your demographic there's like 18 to 39 males, I don't think they're opposed to seeing eye candy.
Of course not. I mean, look at all the, even WW, you have the eye candy.
Oh, yeah, the divas.
The divas, man.
So that's the thing. But there are just a lot of cultural barriers. I mean, there's some guys out there that are just like, no, I don't want to see two women fight each other. It's just wrong.
Like we mentioned before, I think it's more entertaining rather than who is competing with who. To me, it's entertaining as a casual fan.
Yeah, and of course everyone's all like, oh, look at the WNBA, look at this. But I went over this. There's subtle differences to make them a lot different than a team sport or other combat sports as well.
Okay. So with that said, what women division would you put in the UFC?
Probably this one's tough because Gina Carano and Chris Cyborg are in the 145 division, and they're the two most remarkable stars in the division. As far as talent goes, the most talented division I've seen so far is the 135 division. Got Morris Kunin, Misha Tate, Sarah Kaufman, Japanese fighters like Hitomi Akano. There's Roxanne Modafferi's fought 135. 135 definitely has more to talent. I think Amanda Nunes could probably cut down to there. Sarah McMahon could probably cut down to there. I think Ronda Rousey might fight in that division. I'm not 100% sure. But the 135 division. If you could, it's kind of weird though, because when people talk about like, oh, women in the UFC, you have to think of weight classes. I mean, do you even think you can put more than two women's weight classes in the UFC in this hypothetical dream world?
I as a casual fan, I don't really want to see so much women fights. I think one division is enough, and really want to see some men fighting. I mean, I could be biased, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, no problem. That's true. Two divisions would be the most. And I do 145 and 135. There's a really good Bellator 115 division, and even less than 115, there's a lot of Japanese fighters.
I want to add though. I mean, even though I don't want a too many division, that doesn't mean I don't want to see more women's fight.
Yeah.
I can, one pay-per-view, I can see two women's fight. I would like that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. It's. I don't think it hurts it too much, like the product.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you have a women's fight. Well, they're the space for that women's fight is a space where a men's fight could be. It's like, yeah, I guess. Especially on the main card. I know that the UFC has intentions to, have more cards though. Have more events.
Of course.
To fit these people in, and like I said, you're not dominating these cards with like women's fights or anything like that. That's not the plan. That's the thing.
But no offense, there are sometimes one pay-per-view have really boring cards. I rather than see one woman's fight in there.
Yeah, but the thing is, women can have boring fights too.
I know.
That's the thing.
But it's women. I'm sorry. It's interest is different. It's something
novelty.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, okay. With that said, how would you structure the women division?
I would honestly. Here's the thing with the women's division that could really benefit the UFC. Their TV product, generally hasn't really risen in the ratings. If you look at like Showtime and some of the women's bouts, especially like Amanda Nunes versus Julia Budd, Gina Carano versus Chris Cyborg, Gina Carano when she fought in the League XC, they tend to women's bouts have actually tended to raise the ratings significantly too. You're talking like when this girl Amanda Nunes knocked out Julia Budd, people were hearing about it and watching it. During that fight, 300,000 more viewers. 300,000 more viewers for two unknown women. You know what I mean? There definitely is a novelty. And that's why I would actually put him on TV.
I agree.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Because I mean, there are women watching the UFC now, and there are women, practitioner, women trainer. I just think you have more fight they can relate with.
One thing is with the title fights, one other thing is a lot of these fight nights, UFC and Versus is starting to get like a main event, but you can now have. I would actually put title fights for the women's bout on their fight night. Maybe even Ultimate Fighter finale. Use it to gain ratings. I mean, yeah, you're kind of shortchanging it and making it seem like a little lesser than the men's division. But if you're gonna have it, use it. Hey, this is what they have proven to gain ratings. Let's use it. I'd put some of the other fights on the prelims. Some of the bigger named female fighters on the main card, but for the most part, just I would kind of use it to help their TV product, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree, and I still think this is women's as good as the men these days. I mean, not in UFC, for a lot of people's opinion, but they are really good, and then watching them is sometimes no different than watching men in the lower cuts.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't think they should be judged. I think they should be in TV as much as anything else.
I mean, the argument's always like, oh, the best woman will never be as good as the best man.
But that's just not fair to say now. But I think that's
the best. Yeah, you're talking about the very best.
I think that's really biased.
Yeah. It's not a. It's a very singular assessment to me because it's kind of like. Okay, Diego Santos, for example, is a pretty highly ranked fighter. He's on main events a lot of times. The fact of the matter is, he's not that technically sound. His striking isn't that technically sound. His wrestling isn't like anything great. It's his aggressiveness and stuff. You watch guys like Leonard Garcia. I'm watching guys on the main card that are pretty high up there that actually aren't that skilled. With some women, a lot of women aren't skilled, but there are some women that have better technical skill than some men.
Like I say, MMA is universal. Everybody's training there. Just because a woman is training, it doesn't mean they are less as good as the men. Yeah. But anyway, with that said, should we move on to the third question?
Yeah.
All right. Now we talk about women. We talk about UFC growth. How do you see the UFC growth?
I talked about this, Tony, a while back, that the UFC kind of plateaued, which isn't a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It's tough to say. There aren't too many big fights. There's obviously Anderson Silva versus GSP. I mean, what can they really do? International deals. It's the growth. I mean, it's really grown a lot. Especially Brock Lesnar really actually helped it.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't really see what else they can do at this time. A little more advertising, getting on a better television deal. I mean, they need something pretty big to get to the next level.
But that's not saying they are in a pretty high level right now. I mean, right now, if you look at it, they are ESPN. They are considering MMA as a sport, and I would say mainly because UFC has proven that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's. I mean, the thing is, geez, I just lost my train of thought.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's not your fault. It's definitely universal. The thing I was gonna say is that it's definitely gone into the consciousness of the culture.
Oh yes.
Like they know what MMA is. They know what UFC is. They know what this sport, it's a relatively new sport, but people know what it is now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
The growth, they're always going to make new stars. You just never know what stars are going to, get so big and reach past that boundary, will cross over into the mainstream.
Absolutely. And then, to me, I mean, as a business going this way, let's say we're going to UFC hitting the plateau, so what? Right now they don't have to do much, and they can collect a single amount of revenue. They don't need to do much advertising. If they don't want to, they can stay here for a while and just collecting the money.
So, from a business standpoint, is that a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing. I mean, WWE has done that for a while. They just where they are, and then try to drive in the sale, try to drive in the number. I think right now they spend a lot of money with all the fighters, especially a big, buy out the strike force. I think it's a time for they just collect the revenue, and that's probably what they now want to do. Relax a little bit, get more money, and then maybe think about a long-term goal.
Yeah. Nice.
All right, so that basically, what's on the horizon of Poland, if there anything?
There's nothing big on. Like I said, like the TV deal is a big thing. Like with Spike TV, they might not re-sign with Spike, so they might even have their own network. That's cool. That's gonna be pretty big. With the Strikeforce merger, they'll have so much more talent. Eventually, they're gonna fold that. More than likely, they're probably gonna fold Strikeforce. There really isn't too much to see. Anderson versus GSP super fight.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
What's super fight out there? Ken Valazians with anything?
Right now, see, that's the other problem too. There isn't any fight out there that people really want to see that just totally captures the imagination of MMA fans. I mean, it's cool if Jose Aldo went up and fought Frankie Edgar or something, but it's not something that's people are so utterly clamoring for, because these champions need to clean up the division first before the thought of moving up. Yes. That's what makes GSP versus Anderson so appealing.
Absolutely.
Fedor keeps losing. There's some stuff there back in the days. Fedor. There's some Fedor fights in the UFC that are really appealing. Not anymore. Alistair Overeem versus Junior Dos Santos or Cain Velasquez. It's pretty big, but I don't know how big that is.
Yeah, you're right. Because right now in the division, the only two superstars right now is unbeatable. Since unbeatable is GSP and Anderson Silva. Back in the day, we have much more, but now Fedor is one example, and then we have that's pretty much it. Yeah, but right now it's no big deal.
So, as a casual fan, I mean, what do you think and a businessman, what do you think the UFC will do to get more casual fans?
Well, I think, definitely casual fan, a lot of casual fan, from my perspective, I am one for casual fan. I like it to see instant satisfaction. What I mean is, I want to see punch, I want to see blood, I want to see two men go out together, kick each other's ass.
So you don't like lane play?
No, because it's too boring.
Do you think that's detrimental to fans to not to be conditioned to liking that type of thing?
Well, this, of course, everything is pros and cons, but think about casual fan with a whole bunch of guys, going to the bar, drinking the beer. We want to go, whoa, wow, we want something to talk about, we want something to see about, we want excitement. I'm praying. Yeah, I mean, if a person doesn't do MMA, doesn't practice MMA, maybe it's not interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with wrestling, and I think most MMA fans, even casual fans, don't have a problem per se with wrestling.
Wrestling is fun.
I think what they have a problem with is stall tactics, like lane prey.
Lane prey,
right?
Yeah.
It's like I take a guy down, I hold him down.
So?
Yeah.
Right.
And the guy on top who's holding the guy down wins. I mean, that's definitely not going to get the casual fans audience.
Of course not. Yeah. Of course not. We want to see some more blood. if we want to see some more women, I'm sorry, women fights. I mean, seriously, might not necessarily one woman be or the other, probably just another grappling. But as a casual fan, that's my opinion. Well, we already talked about this, but let's revisit that. So, besides the GSP first Anderson Silva, is there any other super fight on horizon?
We already answered it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's no. That's really no. Then, will super fights change the UFC landscape?
That's an interesting question. Would super fights change the UFC landscape? Because it's like, okay, you have GSP versus Anderson. What's next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even with boxing, it's kind of like, I want to see it. Don't get me wrong. I want to see Pacquiao versus Mayweather. But like, what's next? You know what I mean? And I guess you don't need to think about it in a sense, because it's like, okay, well, does that mean, okay, if you keep asking what's next, well, let's not have it, right?
Of course.
If you're just gonna complain, I don't know if super fights I don't think they can change the UFC landscape. I think they can get a huge buy rate.
But would you think that would kill people's, imagination? Because a lot of people have been waiting for this, is thinking about this. Would you think people would just...
Well, one thing with hype is it's so hard to live up to any type of hype.
Of course.
Chuck Liddell versus Vanderlei somehow managed to do it. They just didn't. They probably didn't do it at the right time in their careers, or the fight itself actually lived up to the hype. There aren't too many cases where the fight itself lives up to the hype. It's very rare. Otherwise, besides getting a huge buy rate, I don't see what else a super fight would do.
I don't see. And also, I kind of actually worry about that fight, the GSP versus Anderson Silva. What if it turns out really boring? What if it turns out not the way we wanted? It might be a big disappointment.
That could happen, and
that can happen with any occasion, of course.
Of course, yeah.
Oh well, that was great discussion.
Yep. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this MMA Q&A/discussion. If you have any comments, leave them below. You got anything to say to our viewers, Dave?
Please subscribe us, and soon we are doing more discussion, Q&A. Just give us a question. We would love to answer your question.
Okay, cool. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you very much.